Oh boy. What we got here? What do we got here? I think we got the mob squad, the hit squad. Serial killers hit the button show. Yeah, it's about to go down. Hope some of y'all jump on this panel. I just wanted to get some fundamentals out the way on this conversation on who's a scientist and who is not. I think there's some fundamentals that are lacking. But I'm going to share this link first. And shout out to everybody in the community that has been responding to Dr. Scott Hendricks, that interview. I think it's pretty awesome. Whether you agree with us or not, you're still reading the work. So no matter what, we're still pioneering the road that this community is more engaged in scientific literacy, right? That this community knows how to read sources, validate them, right? I think that's okay. What's not okay is not understanding the dynamics behind the argument, not understanding some of the fundamental definitions behind the argument. That's not okay. I think the one that I wanted to deal with, I think is most importantly, is epistemic regime. I think that's an important term. I think it's important for people to understand what that is before you make a decision on who's a scientist and who is not. Because most professors, experts in the field who deal with the history of philosophy, the history of science, you understanding these early bridge builders to science, they deal with epistemic regime into how they're labeling who's a scientist and who's not. Yeah, boy. I think somebody done messed up, bro. I think y'all done messed up. Yeah. If you go to the hospital and someone's about to do surgery on you, and you be like, is that the doctor? And they say, I like to think that's the doctor. I don't know. I wouldn't be too convinced. If they told me I would like to think that that was a doctor. I need a definitive answer. Is that a doctor or is that not a doctor? Because if you like to think, I might be like, I like to think not, and I'm going to move on. Like, bring me a doctor. I don't know. But hold on. I got to do something real quick. Before we continue, I should have got the other computer. I'm on my iMac. I never use this computer. And sometimes I be messing up. Because peace to the chat. Shout out to Cedric Ortega. God love Sosa in there. What's up, Aoife? Got Timmy in the joint. Black Sun. That's Sir Gauls all day long. He's a nobleman. Sir Gauls, he's a baron. You feel me? He's been knighted. I'm just kidding. I don't even know how to copy and paste from my iMac. I don't know why I won't do that. Okay, let me see. Give me a minute to figure this out. That ain't right. Cedric, if you can hit the link and copy and paste the StreamYard link for me, I appreciate it. Before I can get into epistemic regime. That's important. You know who else used that? Dr. Scott Hendricks uses it. and a slew of other experts on the field. I don't want to name them right now because I found some very interesting works dealing with Newton, dealing with some papers that was found not too long ago, auctioned off at Sotheby's. Yeah, some really awesome stuff. So I think Pseudo Killers would like to go through it first before we share it. Thanks. These aren't, I would say these aren't very simple concepts to deal with. So I think we want to take our time with it. So either way, if nobody hits the link, if I do this, that's good. But just remember, if you tell me I like to think someone's a doctor, I don't know. That's not really convincing. That's giving more of I hope and I wish they were, but they might not quite meet the they might not quite meet the criteria. Okay. Epistemic regime. Let me see if I can get this bigger for you. That's okay. I'll share it in the chat. I'm still learning this Mac. It's pretty. I got it from my aunt. It's pink. She's an AKA, so she loves pink. So let me see if I can at least share the link for you. This I will share. It's not working out. Mom. Yeah, I don't know why Mac is tripping today. I must have did something. All right, I'm gonna read it for you though. I know it might not be that good on the screen. I can't get it bigger, but you definitely can look this up. And I'll tell you what I got it from. The source of lifestyle sustainability directory.com, epistemic regime. Just go ahead and pull it up. We can read along. Come on, guys, read along with me. La, 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 la. Okay. This is an important concept when we're having this discussion on who meets the criteria for science, aka modern science, and who are just natural philosophers. You feel me? We got some bridge builders. I'm gonna stand on it. Newton is not a scientist. He's a bridge builder. I think he did some extraordinary things, right? But his drive to do those things had nothing to do with the natural world. They mostly had to do everything with the supernatural world. And that's why we like to think of him as a scientist. But when you understand Newton's life fully and what he was really into, and the drive behind a lot of his work, he doesn't meet the epistemic regime to be called a scientist wholeheartedly, right? Think he meets a criteria to colloquially be called a scientist because he's done scientific things. Yeah, I'm no expert. I'm not trying to overshadow the experts. Nothing like that. I'm just trying to give some information that I think needed to be expounded upon. So let's go. Let's read this definition. An epistemic regime refers to a prevailing system of knowledge, production, validation, and dissertation within a particular society or domain. Okay. And I'm going to say we read this definition before, or yeah, we read this definition before. Unk actually had me read it a couple days ago on a show. I hate when he makes me read things and I haven't overread them, right? But anyway, this is what he was getting into, and this is extremely important, right? This is the litmus test right here. Let me continue. It encompasses the accepted methods for determining what counts as truth, the institutions that authorize knowledge, and the dominant conceptual framework through which reality is understood. Let's stop there. Now, the dominant conceptual framework from which reality is understood today is, please guess it in the chat before I answer. We're going to take this slow. The dominant, what is it? The dominant conceptual framework through which reality is understood. So today, what is the dominant conceptual framework through which we understand reality? Somebody, please put it in the chat. Okay. Now, give me a simpler word. It's one word. It's what y'all said, but I want y'all to give me the other simple word in the chat, if you don't mind. What would a fourth grader call it? Yeah, boy. So this would be the dominant conceptual, damn, I can't remember that word. That's okay. I'll read it again. The dominant conceptual framework. It's methodological naturalism. Dominant conceptual framework through which reality is understood today is methodological naturalism, aka science in its in its completed definition, right? It's science, not colloquial science, but a particular science. It's modern science. When we say science, we mean modern science. When y'all say science, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about, honestly. Science, y'all. Science. And not the colloquial definition. We don't mean the etymological definition. We mean the current modern definition today of science, okay? I'm going to finish the definition. I'm going to repeat some things so you can get it. The dominant conceptual framework through which which reality is understood. This is part of epistemic regime, right? Such a regime shapes how problems are defined, what evidence is considered legitimate, and which solutions are deemed plausible. It significantly influences public discourse, policymaking, and collective action by establishing the parameters of what can be known and discussed. This framework provides insight into how societies construct their understanding of the world. And I think I want to take it back. So let's talk about the African hunter-gatherers, right? African hunter-gatherers. The framework provides insight into how societies construct their understanding of the world. African hunter-gatherers constructed their understanding of the world through mysticism, this type of observation that was cut with the unknown. And so they would deify the things that sustained their life, they didn't have this expertise in geology, or they didn't have a way to test water and things like that. They just knew that when they found fresh water, they knew that fresh water can grow food crops and plants that they can eat on, right? And these things that sustain life for them, they were deified, right? and they were deified. And then going through history, this deification became their African traditional religions, and it shaped the whole entire society because this was their epistemic regime. This is how they understand the world around them. This is how they identify the world around them. This is how they taught it to the future, right? I might not be saying that all together. I'm just trying to give you a picture of what an epistemic regime looks like now and what it looked like then. Do you want to talk about Newton's epistemic regime? What up, Costa?
What's going on? You gotta make the word a little bit bigger.
I can't.
You
I'm
know?
not.
All right.
I'm sorry. That's why I said where to get it from. I can't copy and paste. I shouldn't have used this computer. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
You
and
know.
I'm blocking the first paragraph right now on my face, my little
All right.
image.
It's all right. You can block
It's
it.
like,
I'll change it in a minute. That's why y'all can say y'all can just put in epistemic regime, lifestyle, sustainability directory.com. It's easy. That's just Yoshi. Don't mind him. I don't know how to make it bigger.
it's all good. We work around it.
And I can't really copy it, but I gave you where it was. It's real easy. And this source gets in really deep, right? It goes through. You about to go to the kennel. Goes through the etymology of the word. It goes through sustainability. It goes through application. I think it's pretty dope. It's a pretty dope source, though. This one I will give to you. But I just wanted y'all to get the overall understanding of what epistemic regime is, right? And how did Newton understand this concept? I don't know how to make it bigger. I'm sorry, y'all. I told y'all where to find it at. Sorry. I'm trying to be transparent. It's just that I'm on a new system and I still gotta work it out. Yeah, trial and error. Animistic. Animism. Trial and error. That's for African hunter-gatherer. That was their epistemic regime. You know? I don't know. With Newton, his epistemic regime was what wasn't science. It was theology. It was chemistry, but chemistry spelled the old way with a Y, CHY.
Alchemy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Alchemy, like pseudoscience.
Yes,
Yeah, pseudoscience.
correct. Alchemy. So when you read some of these papers, and we'll share them on a later date, but they're fresh and new to Pseudo Killer, so I want us to be able to read them, go through them. But in some of these papers, got one for the humanities, and it'll put the word chemistry with the CHY, right? And then in parentheses, it'll say alchemy. I mean, it's known Newton did far more work on alchemy and theology than he ever did on anything that we considered science. Far more. He would spend certain times of the year studying this chemistry, right? One paper said he wrote like 1 million words on it, far more than any research paper on this subject. 1 million words on this chemistry. Everything he did that we think was scientific was to try to figure out the chemistry, the alchemy, right? Trying to define God within this thing that we thought he was doing science, but he was just trying to, place God, the supernatural within it. In essence, that was Newton's epistemic regime. That's how he understood the world. That's how the world was understood in the medieval times, all the way up until about the Enlightenment period, when they try to separate those things, religion from what was considered, truth, scientific truth. I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, I think I think what we had, well, what experts could say about Newton was all the things that he did publish, all the things that he did put out. But he didn't put much out in publication on the chemistry and on, well, he did have one theology paper he wrote on theology, and it was in response to the principal paper that he had, believe it or not. Like, he had two papers, he did put that out, but it wasn't a lot that we had on what his mindset was, right? It wasn't until they found all his papers, his personal papers. It's a lot of it, and we understand what his true intentions were. We understood exactly what his epistemic regime was, right? And it wasn't in totally in, understanding the natural world. He was trying to merge the natural and the supernatural world together. Yeah, boy. I don't know what to tell y'all. Oh boy. I don't know what to tell y'all.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he was very devout, a devout believer, um, and he actually predicted that the world would end. I think it's like 21 has already passed. I think he predicted the world would end at 2016 because he was trying to use the Book of Daniel to postulate when the world would end. I think his first day was 2016. I think the next one was like 2046. Don't quote me on those numbers, but it's somewhere in that range. So we still got time for the end of the world for his last prediction. So so buckle up. You know what I'm saying? In case we live that long. But yeah, I mean that's just where it was at, especially back then. There's no Darwin, there's no most people believe man comes from Adam and Eve. Like, most people had a creationist mindset. So he's better understood in that framework, under the framework of natural philosophers. That's the only way to really engage what Newton the time and really understand the period and who he was. But you know, the fight has never been whether or not people want to call him a scientist. You want to call him a scientist? Fine. I don't think we should do 8-hour shows about that. You know what I'm saying? But if you're trying to understand the people, the person, what the mindset was, what the epistemic regime was at that time, you have to study the people in their cultural container to really understand. You know what I mean? Why they did what they did, why they thought the way that they thought. Otherwise, it's not really going to make sense.
Super facts. Peace, Ronald. How you doing?
Hey, peace, Juju, and the rest of the panelists. How you guys doing today?
We're
What's
great.
going on? It's good. It's good.
Good. It's a great topic. I know this topic's been going on for a while,
Yeah.
but Juju, you brought up some interesting points about Newton.
Yeah.
I guess, and I do have a question for you and the rest of the panelists. What do you think? Why do you think that Newton is called a scientist by scientists today? If he didn't meet the criteria for this epistemic regime, as you've been pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's called a scientist today because some of what he did is the foundation of modern physics. So you
Right.
can't take that away from him. So some of what he does do fit within the framework of what we consider science today. So that's why they do it, right? So, but my only thing was that when you do it, just know that you're doing it retrospectively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so if you understand that, then it's really no issue.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be retrospective, right? Because
Right.
I mean, he's no longer with us. But
But
so I don't think you guys aren't saying that. You guys aren't saying that
you gotta
that
look.
guys
Go ahead.
like our scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson and some of the other scientists are incorrect. You're just saying that they're just trying to talk about him in a certain perspective. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm not going to check Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Newton a scientist. I understand,
Right.
what I mean, what he means when he say it. You know what I mean? So it's not really an issue. No different than if you want to call Darwin a biologist. I understand what's being meant when you say it. but he
Hmm.
was a naturalist. You know what I'm saying? So that was really the
Natural
only
philosopher.
issue.
Correct.
And then
Hmm.
we was having a conversation about the history of science.
Hmm.
So it's important to be historically accurate when we're having a conversation about history. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to start calling, you know, people different words out of context for that time period. If you're trying to be historically accurate, that's all it
Hmm.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to respond. So, and there were some things that were still missing with Newton. I like to think of him as a bridge builder. He did contribute. I don't know if he really meant to contribute because if you read a lot of his papers, he was in competition all the time with other people. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, um, I like to think some of his stuff was like he was great at math. Don't get me wrong, right? He wasn't the only one that dealt with calculus. There are other people, but he did make some fundamental advancements within calculus, right? And so
Hmm.
I just think like maybe his expertise or love for math helped him figure out some things. I don't know if he understood them in the manner that we do today. Like his whole paradigm was to again place God within this natural concept. God is a supernatural concept, right? And his idea was trying to merge them, or give God the credit in some way by figuring out these things to say, yeah, God
Yeah.
did this. I'm just being very quaint about it, but I just don't think his understanding was fundamentally and totally on, this idea that science deals with the natural world only. He was definitely mixing and matching a lot of things, but in that mixing and matching came up with some phenomenal work. And I also like to think that Neil deGrasse Tyson and people who are very prolific at being scientific communicators aren't going to go that in depth either, because I just don't think that most laymen or the audience will actually conceptualize or understand, because you will have to take classes on understanding epistemic regime and different things to really get it. You feel me? And I think the community, like, we like aha moments, but we don't want to take the workouts to really get him. And a lot of these things are just now coming out. You feel me? So I think the ideas of Newton will, well, I don't know if we'll stop calling him scientist in a colloquial way, because of his additions to modern science.
His contributions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
the laws
contribution.
of motion. Yeah, invented
Right.
calculus, laws of
Like, I
motion,
can't take
gravity.
that away.
Yeah,
But
optics as well. Optics, like what I mean. Even though people built upon it, what I mean, built upon his work, it's still foundational to it.
yeah, the optics is pretty dope. I know for sure one of the papers I read, when he was dealing with the prism, it was a competition. He was telling one a natural philosopher that he could separate the colors and the light, and they didn't believe him. So, a lot of stuff he did was competition to one up, the next person. Um, yeah, so it's a very interesting dynamic,
Yeah.
with, but I don't think his overall epistemic regime was totally based in natural philosophy at all. So
You mean in science
But
or?
methodological naturalism, he was definitely natural,
Yeah, he was a
a
naturalism.
natural
natural philosopher.
philosopher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
methodological
Yeah.
naturalism. I confuse them
Yeah.
all the
yeah.
time.
But
I said
but if
it the other
he
day and I meant methodological naturalism. I kept saying natural philosophy. So excuse me.
not a problem. I just to maybe delve a little bit into what Sosa was saying about Newton's laws of motions. His laws of motion, didn't they actually use what we would call today methodological naturalism in order to get to first, second, and third laws? I mean, you had to have hypothesis and experimentation and falsification, those types of things, right?
Yeah, he did. He did. He did. So that's why we do give him some credit is gained with that. You know what I'm saying? Although he did believe that these things were held up by God, and if you know what I mean, without God, these things would fall down, fall apart. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
understanding. But
he
as
wa-
long as he didn't
he believed in
disseminate
he
that
believed in
to,
a God that maybe more of a naturalistic God or a God of nature.
nah.
You
But
know,
I guess my question though is my question to you guys is what does it matter that he believed in God? Why does it matter that he believed
So
in God? He
I'm
could
gonna stop.
still
I'm gonna
he
stop
could
you.
okay, go
So
ahead.
the point of this is not to bash on his belief of God. My
Hmm.
whole point is to deal within his framework where he stood in the epistemic regime of things during that time.
Yeah.
Even at that time, they were at a point of natural philosophy, not quite at methodological naturalism, right? So
Well,
I think what I want to do here is give you another side of him so people
okay.
can see the full story. It's not bashing him because he was religious. We have plenty of religious people. We had you in the Discord. We didn't
Hmm.
bash you for being a Christian.
Hmm.
We may have had conflicts because you trying to interject intelligent design and everything, but
Yeah. Yeah. I'm an intelligent
bash
designer.
because
Yeah.
you were
No
a
doubt.
Christian. You feel me?
Hmm.
Um, you know, and also epistemic regime is fundamental in the placement of saying that he was in, on the lines of modern science. He
Mm.
contributed to science, but he was a bridge builder, and that's how I like to think of it. I'm not going against Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know, I can totally be wrong, but if we're following the rules, he doesn't fit he doesn't fit in that category. And that's my point.
Even even
I can
even
say,
his
go ahead.
even his laws of how he derived his laws of motion, and I'm just sticking with that because that's physics, right? I mean, I
yeah.
know he did other things, but that's physics. And
Absolutely.
he had to, or I think he would have had to uh, use what you're calling methodological methodological naturalism, that epistemic regime, in order to derive these laws, right?
No, he was a natural philosopher, dear.
Well, I know because they didn't call those they didn't
Right.
use the word science back then, but
So there wasn't this set methodological rule during that time either. And
hmm
that's also another separation from what we call modern science, right? You
hmm
have to affirm a methodological rule in order to get to methodological naturalism.
okay. But then,
So
but isn't that where he kind of broke from the norm by codifying his method of getting to these natural laws that we call the laws of motion.
The
but he didn't.
experimentation process of it. Yeah, like he didn't insert God into his initial work. It more came like after the fact and indirect. So
Hmm.
that's why he represents the bridge. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because he was that represents a shift in thinking. You know what I'm saying? Even though he still did deal highly with alchemy and a lot of theological work, but that was a shift in thinking. I think the quote is for the things that I don't know I will not insert a God. Like
Hmm.
you choose to leave that out of his. I mean, so that represents the break, the bridge.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah. But the fact that that he believed in God. And again, I know this is a discussion about God
yeah, it's
or
irrelevant.
no
That's
God.
belief in God is irrelevant to whether
Yeah,
yeah
it's irrelevant, and that's what I'm
yeah
saying. That
only if you
it
place
shouldn't.
it in the word.
And
That's what I'm saying.
he didn't say F equals ma of G, ma's of G. He didn't say that G meaning God. He didn't say that. He didn't say that inertia had anything to do with God. He just said, I think basically he was just saying that God set these things up, and then he was just he was just investigating them, and and how it came about through his mathematical formulas and things like that. And again, using experimentation, observation, experimentation, falsification, all these things seems like to me that would qualify for uh, that he was a scientist,
Yeah,
and that
this is why his some of that's why I said like the pillars of what he did is the foundation of physics. That's why he fit, but you can't do that with all the philosopher of his time period. You see what I'm saying? Like
yeah, yeah,
one person don't make a period. You hear me?
hmm
So that's why
right,
he represents the break, the shift, the bridge.
hmm
See what I'm
I,
saying? So that's why we can
I
look
understand.
back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
critique his work and say, okay, well, he had some stuff here that falls under that we can place him under the category now that we call a scientist when they look back. You know what I mean? Even though but even though he doesn't fit all the modern science construct because there's different things added to what we consider modern science. The peer review process wasn't there yet. You know what I'm saying? So all these things
hmm
aren't there, but we can look back and say, okay, since his work is where it is and his work is the foundation for physics and what he gave, we can place him in the category of scientist. That's
That's what I
all.
mean by a
okay,
methodological rule in place, because the methodological rules in place would include like peer review, different things like that. In order to be called modern science, I'm not taking away calling Newton a scientist because of his
hmm
contribution to him being a bridge builder, but he was not in no way a modern scientist. And that's just the facts.
I think that's the sticking point. What? Why? Maybe you probably have already explained it, and maybe I missed it. But I I know he's not a modern science because he didn't live in modern times. But wasn't his thinking modern when it came to physics?
When it came to,
Somewhat, but I would say completely no, because he, like I said, there's other works that he had,
I agree.
and the impetus for it, like some of the
Facts.
stuff is indirectly about God,
Yeah.
and some of it is to reveal things about God or what God is saying. He view God as this ultimate intelligent being. You know what I'm saying? Like you
hmm
wouldn't do that as a modern scientist today. You know what I'm saying? The rule is to leave God out of the laboratory. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, he didn't.
So
He
that,
didn't. I don't. Did he?
Again, that would
Did he
be
bring God into the? Did he bring God into his physics laboratory, other than just conceptually? Other than conceptually, that he believed in God.
so. I'm gonna answer this. A
hmm
lot of reason why you don't see the God or theology in Newton's work, because
hmm
again, I explained this before. At the time, it was getting into natural philosophy, so people were trying to separate that. Okay, Newton was very a big proponent on that, but he knew Newton was always in competition, and he knew if he made that the forerunning, he would be discredited. You feel me? So it was almost like he was pressured to not always include that. That's why it was done indirectly. That's why he wrote papers on theology after he did Principia, the paper. You get what I'm saying? Like he separated because that's what was being done, and he wouldn't be taken seriously. Some of the papers allude to this, like he was always in competition with other natural philosophers on different subject matters,
hmm
and just think, in his mind, very competitive, and he wanted to win. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to be. I think one paper said he wanted to be like the first person, to prove certain things. Like it's very interesting. I don't know if it was more of an ego thing, but it does not take away that again his epistemic regime was still based in things that would not be considered natural philosophy in the broader sense or methodological naturalism. And that's what I'm trying to point out. I'm not, again, not beating up on the religion. I'm just showing how that conflicts with the epistemic regime of today and to be called a scientist in its modern sense. That was my purpose. And to bring this term or definition, because that is a term and definition that Dr. Scott
hmm
E. Hendricks uses, that Stephen D. What is the name? Roebelin uses. Like it's a couple more people, but I think this is an important framework. In
we've said it like 50 times on the show too, so they should have heard epistemic regime at
he
least
did
50 to 100 times. You know what I'm saying? That's shit by Cedric alone.
hmm
right. So I mean, do I need to read the definition again for you, Perkins, Mr. Perkins?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
If you don't mind. Yeah.
but I think the pushback too, Ron, for some is that you know what we sci back then it was what he was doing was a mixture. You feel me? Of like natural philosophy, like a mixture of theology, philosophy, and like physics. That shit. Those things were like those categories were blended. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when you say it calls somebody a scientist today, right, or what we consider a scientist today, that's not what it is, right? So if you would just refer to him as a scientist, you may miss the nuances of what Newton was by labeling that. You're not going to see that blend was there, and it was okay at that time frame within that epistemic regime. That was fine. That was
Mm-hmm.
the how it was done during that day.
Right.
So that's the only really logical pushback on it. You know what I mean, so yeah, did he do some empirical work? Yeah, evidence based, of course. In some of his work, did he leave God out of it? Yes, God sometimes his explanation for God was on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
basically, God is the intelligent person that keeps the laws in motion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they
Without
created all
God,
this
the
and
earth, these
put everything in
orbits would
motion.
fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it.
But his his major work, I understand that he believed in alchemy and maybe what we would call supernatural type things.
He didn't
Yeah.
believe
Putting that aside, putting that aside, his major
that
work.
was forerunner of his work there. He didn't believe in it. He was an alchemist. So they have
Yeah.
papers calling him the last magician.
Yeah.
It's the reason for that. And these are by professors who are professors in the history of philosophy, the history of science, So, I mean, I'm going to go to the people where they are experts on Newton also,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is
But
where
those experts do not call him a
this
scientist.
is where I'm getting it from.
Okay.
I mean, again, I don't know what part you missed, but saying someone I would like to think of him as a science is not, to me is not an assurance that they are. It's that ideal that we believe is what contributes to a scientist that we like to apply to him. But if you understand epistemic regime, if you understand, his how shall I say it, his push into why he was doing some of the things, he wouldn't be considered a methodological naturalist or a scientist at all.
So
We
you're
can,
saying if you lined up
Listen,
10 prominent scientists today, if you lined up 10 prominent or 100 prominent scientists today, that that they could reach a consensus that he was not a scientist or that he was a scientist.
so I'm
just
not
saying,
dealing.
listen, let's just say that for me, right, like calling Newton a scientist is not going to get you kicked out of college, right? It shouldn't
Right.
be that big of a hang up as long as you understand the context of how you're using the term scientist and refer to him as a scientist. If you understand he doesn't represent methodological naturalism, then I think you're in the right frame of thinking. If you think of something different than that, then you're messing it up. You know what I mean? But if you want to call him a scientist, plenty of people call him a scientist. It's not an issue.
I guess what I'm asking though is that you don't think that, again, and I asked this question before, and I'm sure you answered it. Maybe I missed it, but his work in physics, specifically the laws of motion, that doesn't meet the criteria for methodological naturalism.
He's a
His
natural
work,
philosopher.
yeah, but it works, but that framework wasn't there yet. You see what I'm saying? Like he can't be a method. He can't. You know what I'm saying? He can't be that before it exists.
You're asking questions in circles
He just
also.
kind of represents the, you know what I mean? He represents the bridge. That piece represents the break. I mean, the bridge, but he wasn't that himself because he, you know what I mean? Because that's not what he was. So that's not what the framework was when he was alive. You can't rewrite history.
For sure, that wasn't the framework because there were no scientists, right?
No, there was no methodological rule. We have that today. And we can call it science, and we can call the people who do that and follow the methodological rules scientists. I've said it 3 times. Like Sosa said, you can call him a scientist. I'm gonna say I'm bringing this up because he does not fit the epistemic regime of what we call scientists in the modern sense today. What he did is he bridge build. He came up with some amazing work without that methodological rule, without being a methodological naturalism that we used and we built on today. Now, let's be correct. It wasn't the set all be all. It was the foundation, and we built off the work. It was a good foundation. Nobody is hounding on that. I'm getting into a bigger discussion. Okay. My discussion is not colloquially, and my discussion is not on the surface. My discussion is understanding how people think, how we justify truth and facts and knowledge, right? And all that, and the methodological rule that we use to sustain what's fact, as in modern science. That's what I'm dealing with. Hence, epistemic regime, which is an important word.
Yeah, and the rule for methodological naturalism was basically like, don't use any supernatural explanations in your work, even if you believe in them. So that really didn't pop up or really wasn't fully formed till like late 1700s. You know what I'm saying? Newton died like 1727. So
right. And I think what Dr. Hendricks set a rule like, you need to be careful on what you call science before that, right? But Newton was right at the brink of that. He was at the edge. That's why I like to call him a bridge builder. Other people like to call him that. It was just some things that weren't quite there. If we want to retrospectively call him a scientist, that is fine. He's done some phenomenal work. If we want to dig deeper, it's not as clear as to say that. That's just what I'm getting at. When I'm digging deeper, today I'm using epistemic regime. And you can't get over that. Today I'm going to use formalizing a methodological rule. You can't get past that, I'm just saying. Neil deGrasse Tyson wouldn't get past it today if he wasn't a methodological naturalist, I'm just saying. Even the Catholic Observatory, and most of those people that are over there are Catholic priests, but they're scientists. They can attribute it to God, but guess what? Their work doesn't include it, right? Because they still have to lean to the methodological rule. They understand what the epistemic regime is today versus, during Pope Pius I. You get that?
Yeah, I do.
So,
but
that is my dichotomy, though. That's how I'm varying the two subjects. So, yes, everything you say is correct. Nobody's saying that. I'm getting into a bigger picture, a deeper understanding of what we consider science and scientists, and what we consider how establishing fact and truth, in the best way. Okay, so that's what I'm getting at.
I understand what you're saying, but it seems though that maybe what's that saying? A rose is a rose by any other name. Seems like what he was doing was, I mean, you would classify. I think Sosa he's also clear about it, that it was methodological naturalism, but it wasn't called that.
No, it wasn't. It didn't. There was no methodological rule. So the techniques, the methodology that Newton used was his. Another natural philosopher might use a different methodology. That's somewhat the problem, right? These results weren't now, but these results weren't testable or empirically defined then. We were able to do it later. You know what I'm saying? So no, I don't. Go ahead, Sosa. You're gonna say something?
Okay, I'm saying that some of what Newton did was sound, right? The best way to understand Newton is to figure out why he does not fit within methodological naturalism, right? That's the best way to understand um, the bridge, right? Because within right, even though you don't find it inside his equation, right? So that part you're correct, right? So we don't have to refute that. But what a scientist would refrain from today is saying that these things are bounded by God, and that the universe would fall flat without, like, that is outside of methodological naturalism. So I'm
But
saying, even though even though
is that a true statement? Would all scientists say what you just said?
if he put it, but if he's using that framework, it's not methodological naturalism. The causal
But he's still a
thing, like,
scientist,
that's
though.
personal, yeah, but that's your personal belief. That's outside of the,
Yes. Hmm.
yeah. So that's outside, but
But
you
it's
would
still
not
he's
put
still a
that.
scientist.
You got to let him finish. You cannot interrupt him.
Yeah, he's still, like, you're talking about in modern times today, right? But I'm saying that if
Yes.
if a scientist today does that, he's not using methodological naturalism. Understand what I'm saying? Like, even scientists today, would you agree, sometimes engage in pseudoscientific things,
Yes.
right? But the only difference is now that the term scientist exists, therefore we call them scientists, so it fits, right? We're not being retrospective when we call someone. Yeah, so you can be a scientist today and do that. But in terms of methodological naturalism, I'm trying to show you what Newton did that fell outside of methodological naturalism.
And I think that's I think you're absolutely right that trying to understand what he did. And this is my this is where I'm confused. Talking specifically about physics, about his laws of motion. Where did it fall outside of methodological naturalism, even though he believed in a God?
Because his because of the not because of the outside equation, right? He has something called a general scholium, right? So in that's another part of his work, right? That God governs the work system of the universe. The order is reflects divine design. So I'm saying that's in his general scholium, like, so that's where you see the break where Newton was at his time. That's not methodological naturalism, right? You don't use that causal agency. You can't test that. So to make that claim, you're interjecting something that's unfalsifiable, and you can't do that, under the guise of methodological naturalism. So that's what makes him different. But different now, but perfect for his time as a natural philosopher.
I want to read this passage. This is from a guy, Stephen D. Snowbelin. Um, he's well, you could say he's an expert on Newton. He does work in the history of philosophy and science. Very prolific. I've read a lot on this guy in the certain days, and I'm gonna read a passage. I'm gonna do a little readership. Please forgive me. But this is from another expert, Ronald. And I think it's important to note that I find it healthy not to take one expert's opinion, but it's like, build an army of experts and just get an overall picture of it is way more healthy. I think a lot of time people want a gotcha moment and if one expert has an inkling of what your bias says you want to hear, you're done with it, right? You've won, you're done. Another expert who may be more privy to the work is saying something totally different. So you got to learn to be careful. But I'm gonna read this expert. It's a couple of lines. It's not long, right? It reads, and I'm reading a section, so you might not have much concept, but I think you'll get to it. It says elsewhere in Classica Scholia, Newton suggests that the ancients cloaked their knowledge of the inverse square law of gravitation behind the figure of Apollo and his 7-string lyre. So he's mixing within his science what is that? Mythology. Through this symbol, Newton explains they indicate that the sun acts on the planets with its force in the same harmonic ratio to the different distances as that of the tensile force of strings of different length in a duplicate inverse ratio to the distances. And all this, Newton insinuates that the ancient philosophers operated in a manner like the sect of the Pythagoreans and the early modern alchemists, revealing their secrets only to the initiates and presenting them in public only through coded language. This strategy directly clashes with the ideas of modern scientists. But Newton was a natural philosopher, not a scientist. I'm going to end there. Extraordinary paper. It's in the PK Discord. If you join the Discord, you can get it. But yeah, I like that. But there's a few other papers that I have on Newton's work that I'm reading, not by the same person. So for me, it's healthy to read different ideas about him, but it's also healthy to understand that a lot of people dig deep and they understand his life. You know, there's one paper that talks about how he was raised. It's not very fun. It wasn't very pretty. He was neglected, right? Sickly child, you know, separated from his mother. You feel me? So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I
There's
think
a pretty good documentary on Newton I should check out. I actually saw it.
Yeah.
It was like really pretty good. But Rob, we're not trying to take Rob Newton of his credit because he had faith, right? Because we have scientists today that believe in God. They're probably like 50% or so, right? So that's not right. It's not that you have a faith and do science. That's never the issue. You just can't then in your claim interject supernatural agents as causation, right? Because Newton believed that anytime God could intervene and tear it down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and he wrote about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a scientist, you can't do that. That's personal. It's personal belief.
Yeah, certainly he believed that, but I think his fundamental belief was that God set up the universe with certain laws and laws and rules, and then just let it go. I don't know if he normally believed or specifically believed that God intervened in things, but
He did. He got a. I think I could find a quote. He believed that over time, like basically God may need to step in for the to keep the order. I'm gonna go back and track down the exact quote, but he did. But he did believe that. He wrote about it. Yeah, to remain stable, God would have to intervene.
Yeah,
so,
and I guess that he's a Juju just read a interesting gave us a bit of interesting information about I don't know if that's is that speculation, Juju, or is that?
No, he's an expert. This guy is an expert on Newton. He deals with the history of philosophy of science. He deals with the history of science. So he's right in the wheelhouse of this conversation.
So he wasn't when he talked about Newton's inverse square law.
No,
he wasn't speculating that Newton was somehow trying to bring in the stuff about Apollo and stuff like that.
So I'm gonna let you know this comes from Scholia. That's Latin. Okay, that was one of Newton's works. Okay, so he's reading what Newton said in one of his works. Okay, so he's not.
She's referring to the theological and the alchemical findings that they basically that didn't come out till later on in his life. One reason the theological shit didn't come out because he didn't believe in the Trinity.
Right.
He wasn't a Trinitarian.
And to go against that at his time was, would probably be like he probably
non-Trinitarian.
He wasn't. You know what I mean? And the alchemical stuff didn't come until later on. So now, some years later, probably they found probably in the 40s, some shit like that. But so now they're looking and seeing what he actually wrote. So so you have a better understanding of what Newton thought and what he believed and how he went about his processes. You know what I mean?
So Newton wrote, I can't, the Prisca
Just say the English.
I don't know, the introduction to the systems of the world.
Something
Um,
about math. What is it
yeah,
called?
and the classical scholia. I don't see the English part. Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
called the mathematical principles of natural philosophy. That's because he talk about the philosophy, naturalist principia mathematica.
yeah, yeah. So Newton
Yeah,
wrote those things. So he's Newton wrote another paper that was on theology. So he's saying what Newton wrote, and
I
I
think
think
that's
it's
the general scholium. I got some of the words are so unique to my brain. I got to go back and
because
look them up. But I think it's the general
Newton
scholium episode on theology.
Newton wrote in Latin, so like most people did, but he was very proficient. So a lot of his work was written in Latin. But these are things he wrote. That's why you have was another paper saying Isaac Newton, the last magician. That's not mocking, only going by the things he wrote, his personal papers and things like that. Because in some essence, he was attempting to do magic, but he was doing, you
Yeah.
know, this thing we call the bridge to some of the sciences we are aware of today, like
Yeah.
physics. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But that's why I said like he wasn't somewhat the methodological naturalist in a sense because he was still trying to figure out other the mysteries of alchemy and things like that, but then performing what we call science. Very, very complicated and interesting. Like I said, go ahead.
No, so I think what we can do, and probably what we should do, is a show on on the work that you have,
Yeah, that's what I
and
want.
so you can get clear, just so we can bring out some of his what he believed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? What he believed about God, what he believed about the Bible and Christian. He believed
because
that
it was
Christianity
all
was
very
corrupted over
interesting.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So he believed, yes,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, to get a better understanding of Newton, we should do that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I think it would be good. But again, though, none of that takes away from his
it
his
does.
science, the science that he performed that we still use today, right?
It doesn't.
Right, right,
It
right.
doesn't.
So
I don't
so
think.
But
I think
but but
that's why he's
but
called a scientist, right?
I don't
yeah,
think
that's what I'm
it.
saying, Ron. Don't hang up on that. Call him a scientist
Yeah.
if you like.
No, I'm not. But I
Yeah,
thought that maybe I misunderstood Juju when she said
yeah.
that she's taking a hard stance that he wasn't a
And
scientist.
she can do that because he wasn't a scientist. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She can do it too. Yeah. You can't make a
No, I'm not trying to make it.
yeah, yeah. You can't
Obviously, I
make
mean,
somebody be
everybody
an
has.
academic and they, you know what
No,
I'm saying?
I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I'm
You
just saying
see,
that
wait a
by
minute,
the
Ron. I just want to say, do you understand why I'm taking that hard stance?
yes, because of the epistemic regime.
Yeah, and there's another one because the methodological rule wasn't formalized. He wasn't a methodological naturalism, right? Because being a methodological naturalist, a methodological rule is formalized. You have the scientific method, right? Scientists are barred to a system of how they need to do things to come up with this thing we call, facts or true science. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
None of
Two
that was
things
in
can be
place.
true. Two things can be true.
So, well, the facts, I'll say,
Yeah,
the facts or
but you
empirical
but
data.
I think you both would agree though that the consensus, the modern consensus by modern day scholars, is that he is a scientist, right? Or that he
I don't
was a
know how you
scientist.
form a consensus on it. I mean, it is what it is, Ron. If I
No,
called him
no,
a natural philosopher, can you say that I'm wrong?
no. Because
You can't.
that was a terminology used back then. I'm
Right.
talking
So
about
if you
we're
call him
talking
a
about
scientist, I can say, okay,
who's
but
called a scientist today.
yeah, I'm saying, but if you call him a scientist today, I can say, okay, that's correct. But he wasn't called a scientist at the time, and he didn't practice. I could put an asterisk by it. You can't do that if I call him a natural philosopher because that's what he was.
Yeah, but you might would be the only one to put an asterisk beside his name, though, right?
You
I
have
mean,
to understand what he
Neil
is.
deGrasse Tyson wouldn't. Neil deGrasse Tyson wouldn't do it.
Because
You
he's
don't
talking
know
about him,
that.
because he's talking about him in
Well,
passing and
what do you
vaguely,
mean?
but you can't
Yeah.
understand. If I just told you that If I tell you that Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist, Newton is a scientist, how can you distinguish? You wouldn't be able to distinguish the two. What if, unless I tell you what Newton was? You're not going to be able to differentiate Neil deGrasse from Newton.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to tell who's using which one used methodological naturalism, which one's a natural philosopher. I have to explain to you who Newton was, right? The framework that he lived in, so you can understand why he did what he did and why he wrote what he wrote. It wouldn't make sense.
And that's
or you can study his work, right?
I need you to stop because what?
Yeah, but if you study his work, yeah.
Sosa just explained is the epistemic regime between Neil deGrasse and Newton, totally different. You feel me? That's why I'm getting at.
Yeah.
We know for a shadow of a doubt, Neil deGrasse Tyson is indeed a scientist in all standards of the word. Okay? For a shadow of a doubt. I don't think he's very clear when it comes to Newton. He did scientific things. I say you can do scientific things and not necessarily be a scientist, though. You know,
Ron, if we're being honest, most people don't really know Newton, his life, his views. It's more summaries of Newton, right? You would agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
right.
Yeah.
But
Hold on.
you know, I like Juju's point that Neil deGrasse Tyson, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is a scientist. So we have a scientist calling Newton a scientist.
No problem, Ron.
I'm sorry.
No. That should be definitive, right?
It's retrospectively fitted towards
no,
Newton.
because you may have other scientists who are just credible as Neil who may say, I choose not to call them that. And you can't say that they're incorrect. I mean, so it's how, if you choose to do it, then fine. If you choose not to, you can't knock the person because they have valid reason to say why they're saying he ain't one.
Fact.
No, I mean, you can't. So
Joel's in the building. Shout out.
So if you go to
Peace.
hey Joel, how you
let
doing?
Joel get a word.
Peace to the planet.
Killer official Joel, and yeah, you got the floor right now.
All right, so check this out. Y'all do know we had an expert on this topic yesterday, and he warned us in the conversation when he was asked a question about when you start applying the word scientist to people who proceed what we do today, that you actually start doing injustice to them. You start breaking down what they did. You make what they did look bad, like it wasn't significant. And he was like, it's such a bad move to take a word that we use has a certain meaning to it and then apply it back to someone else. You're doing them an injustice. He came out and said that. I don't know if Ron might not have saw the show, but it's important for Ron to go watch that show, because what Ron is doing is trying to force a word that we use right now that has a certain definition back in time on somebody who just did not do all of the methodology of that word when we use it. Right now, I'm listening to y'all, and Sir Isaac Newton, somebody who is great, is being assaulted just simply because we're trying to explain how we use a word today and how a certain individual doesn't fit into that word. I think this is horrible. And Ron, once you get that explained to you, it's like, I don't know why you don't just back off of it.
No,
I mean, you already can, if you already can admit he wasn't using all the tools we use today, why force it? Just let it go. Fine. And if somebody wants to call this guy, if somebody wants to call this guy a scientist, because he did some awesome stuff. So I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't sit back and not say Sir Isaac Newton is a scientist, right? Because he's dynamic. All right, fine. You can, if you want it that bad, take it, right? But when you finally go back to the definition, and you read it, it's not going to line up with what you're saying. And I got a couple articles. And one last thing. I'm gonna be quick. One last thing. I got a couple articles from from other scientists where they say, no, he did his thing here, he had his religion in it, and they kind of break it down. So it's not unanimous. See what I'm saying? And why I
I'm not
salt
saying
the
it's
guy. All right,
unanimous. I'm
go
saying
ahead.
it's a
Go ahead.
consensus. I'm saying it's a
What
consensus,
is the
but
consensus? What does consensus mean?
that he would be called a scientist by modern scientists.
Okay. And I'm telling you, some of them say no.
That's what I'm saying. It's a consensus, not unanimous.
Fine,
Consensus
fine.
means
Okay,
that
fine. Why assault the guy? He did good work.
no, but Joel, I think my 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 only point about Newton's work, and I'm talking specifically about his work in physics, because that's what we, and maybe even optics to some degree, but I mean, I mean, a lot of people did, even before Newton did works in optics. But I'm talking about his works in physics as it relates to motion, um, his laws of motion. He, I think, used what's called today methodological naturalism, specifically, even though it wasn't called that, even though it wasn't called that,
He
and
did not
but
do
he
that,
didn't.
Ron,
What did he not do? What did he not do?
because his causal explanations was supernatural. He
No,
didn't
he
do
didn't say
that.
that. No, when he came up with his formulas, he didn't have God as the.
No, that wasn't in
He
his
didn't say he said
formula. That for it,
F
but
of G equals M
oh,
eighth
that
of
wasn't
G.
in that work. No, but his other works explaining it is that everything it was causal. He got other works referring to why he what he did and how and what is to be taken as. To be taken as
Yeah,
this is how God designed it. Blah blah
yeah.
blah
He
blah
believes in
blah.
God. He believed that God was the
Which is
designer of.
fine,
But
but you
that
have to
doesn't take
that
away
has
from
to
the
be
work that he did.
personal. We're not using that to take away from the work what he did. We're using that to bridge the gap between methodological naturalism. We're
But
not
you're saying that
in
no.
any way taking away his work. His work
I know,
stands.
but you're saying that no scientist today using methodological naturalism believes in God. Then
Ron,
No,
you
and
got to
the
wrap
and
it
difference
up.
never
is
said that God is
today
a
is that the actual word scientist exists. It's a profession.
right.
So once you become a scientist as a profession, even if you engage a pseudoscientist, we can't take it away from you because you have a job. You got the job as a scientist.
Can I do some reading? I would love to do
Please,
just
a
the.
little bit,
Yes,
but we
Okay.
can't do
I
the
got.
readership. A little bit of
let me
reading,
Okay.
but not the
order.
readership.
After Joel, Ron, you're gonna have to take a back burner because I
Okay.
have several other people on the panel, but I'll get back to you, okay?
Okay.
And appreciate the commentary.
Oh,
Like
thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
I like the feedback, so I'm not mad at
Yeah,
that.
PC too, right?
Don't
Yes.
Yeah.
don't leave, Ron. You need to hear this.
But
I'm
Let me
not
after
hear
leaving.
this.
after
I'm
I
still
can't hear
listening.
Joel,
everybody.
We're right
Okay,
there.
all right. So
after
look, check this
Joel,
out.
wait a minute. After Joel,
Okay,
I want Anonymous Cream to go, and then we're gonna have
Mel.
Sabio,
It's
and
Mel right
then
there.
the Grand Archives. Is Mel here?
Yeah,
Mel
that's
is
me.
Mel is the
Oh,
grand architect.
okay.
my
So
my my, my readership gonna be quick.
that's okay. So Preem,
All
then
right.
Mel, then Sabio, because I haven't seen Sabio around, but I know that Preem and Mel have been part of the discussion. So let's go, Joel, Preem, and Mel. Thank you.
All right.
Continue.
So this from Virginia Tech. This from Virginia Tech. The title of it is Congested Iconography. Was Isaac Newton an astrologer, a rational mechanics scientist, or neither? This is by a guy named James Fraser. It says Sir Isaac Newton, 1642, 1727 CE, has been used as an icon by two groups that hold a radically different vision of reality. Both astrologers and rational mechanic, uh, mechanic scientists have made claims on Newton to support their respective belief systems. These two groups often engage in vitriolic debates over the validity of astrology. See that vitriolic? Oh my goodness. All right, anyway, in light of this opposition and extreme polarization, it is extraordinary that both groups would claim Isaac Newton as a hero. Given Isaac Newton's exceptional contributions to what became modern science, it is obvious why the scientists would claim him as their own, although that is not without its problems. In this paper, the accepted image of Newton as the rational scientist fighting to rid the world of superstition through the development of rigorously applied mathematically based experimentation and methodology will be challenged. It will be argued that Isaac Newton held many beliefs and interests that will be considered heresy in the scientific world of modernity. As a result of modern scholarship, it has become increasingly difficult to classify Newton as a Newtonian in the sense that this term is understood today. The importance of Newton's work, combined with the rise of science as the respected authority in Western culture, may be what tempted some astrological writers to make unfounded claims that Newton was a proponent and practitioner of astrology. It can be shown that these claims are incorrect and therefore in need of revision. Okay, I mean, I can drop this in the back chat, but this kind of makes the point that Scott Hendrick was making yesterday. Like when you start trying to fight, like everybody trying to fight and give a person a certain spot, you know, if somebody takes the whole totality of what this person did, like we're trying to explain the wrong, you know, hey man, sometimes you got your beliefs that, you know, kind of filtered in there. We kind of flushed that out today. Back then they didn't kind of do that. Yeah, it's going to raise a problem. It's going to cause a problem, and then you're going to start trying to evaluate the person's work, and in doing so, you kind of take a little something away from the good that they did. So I just think that's important for us to keep in mind. Go ahead. My plane is landed.
No response. I want Preem to go next.
Hey Juju.
Peace,
Um,
anonymous.
Peace. One thing I think that I'm seeing here is like with people like Newton, you got to realize that they are on the frontier of science, and it's not only just in general, as you know, from if you look at it from a societal point of view, you got to look at it from themselves. Newton didn't have science to come up in, so his whole education was in natural philosophy, so that's what he was. It just so happens that he branched off and he got specific on certain points, when you when you look at things, when he did integral mathematics, which is the foundation of calculus, and when he worked on the laws of motion, yeah, that's when he kind of tapped in and he started to branch off. But his fundamental way of looking at things and his fundamental approach to all of his work was natural philosophy. But and because he was literally on the frontier of creating these things and coming up with these theories, it took time for the scientific community to catch up. So it's like decades later before Newton's work was really completely placed under review and then accepted by the scientific community. So, but in real time, you know what I mean? This guy, he's pretty much a voice in the wilderness, because the Royal Society, there was no one there to challenge anything he did, and they just pretty much rubber stamped it. And then it took decades for the rest of the world, the scientific world, to catch it. Now, I don't even want to say catch up, but to really be able to look at his work with the critical eye and then approve it. And then over time, things start get even more cemented by further experiments and further advancements, because the advancements are built on the foundation of Newton's work. So, but that's kind of after the fact. But in real time, his approach and the way he lived and his philosophy towards his work, it was natural philosophy. It wasn't a modern scientific approach.
Thank you. Um, the grand activist, archivist, excuse me.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Hey, so I just wanted to elaborate more on what I put in the chat regarding semantic confusion and kind of explain that for everybody. Uh, Basically, semantic confusion means it's a misunderstanding caused by the meaning of words. especially when people use the same word in different ways without realizing it. And that's what's happening here on the panel. How some people understand science is from what they were taught, K through 12 school. And based on what they were taught there, Newton qualifies as a scientist. But we have to understand that there are three different terms of how science is used. The word science is used. It's three different meanings. There's the modern label, which is from today's perspective. There's a historical title that was given. And Newton did not have that title. He was a natural philosopher. So that's why I say historically calling him a scientist is anachronistic. It's incorrect. And then third is the scientist as a symbol of legitimacy. Basically, by people hearing that Newton is not a scientist, it disqualifies him, because then it's almost like saying he, like he wasn't involved in science in any way. Even though he did have some things that advance science, he still doesn't qualify as a scientist. And I think that's what's going on. It's just a lot of what people are hearing is combating what they believed and what they were taught in the past. And so it's causing that semantic confusion. And I think that's why when, like Sosa said, hey, you can call him a scientist, that has to be cleared up, because you don't want to call him a scientist and now this person is thinking that they're validated in what they believed instead of understanding how science is used today. So I just wanted to speak on that.
Thank you. Sabio.
Peace, Juju. I agree
Peace.
with the person who just spoke. And it's the semantic confusion and the usage of the word science that is actually being played with, because science can be used as a placeholder for knowledge. It's basically, in their minds, it's basically like us saying those ancients didn't have knowledge. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that their knowledge is what they had, and that is all that they needed. They didn't need the methods of science that we use today, because it wasn't applicable or even a thought on their spectrum at that time, because they needed things that worked for them in reality for their daily survival. Nothing more. So if you keep forcing these people to be something they're not, you're asking them and you're telling them that they were more than they were. And at this point, it's your misunderstanding and no one else's of what science actually is and how it actually applies to the world today.
Thank you, Sabio.
Can I add to what Sabio was saying?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So just to kind of simplify it, the disagreement with Newton isn't about his work.
Yeah.
That has been substantiated. The disagreement is about the meaning attached to the word scientist. That's the disagreement. And I think that's what causes the confusion, because that word has many different meanings, and people can use different ones to explain it, but in modern sense and how we define it today, he doesn't apply. He doesn't have that, like I said, he doesn't have that falsification method. He doesn't have a way to quantify and check his biases at that time, because no such thing existed. The concept did not exist at that time. So he wouldn't be qualified as a scientist.
Thank you. Thunder. You agree, Sabia? Yeah, I agree. Peace, Thunder. The floor is
Thunder.
yours.
Oh no, that go to neighborhood. God dang it.
How you doing, Joel?
I'm
glad to see that
What
you
up, Thunder?
okay, good. Glad to see you doing well. Juju, I really got on to talk to you. I hadn't talked to you in years.
Yeah.
And I'm not even finna even get into the Isaac. If y'all don't think Isaac Newton was a scientist, then I don't even know where to go with that. So I'm gonna leave that right. Just read a book.
Not even what we saying.
Just
man.
read a book. Just read a book, and then let the book tell you, right? But Juju.
So wait,
No,
Oh,
no, let them go on.
Hold on,
We
let
don't
me
wanna
let
get-
me let me give him a salutation to
Don't get
Juju
caught up in
first,
that.
folks, and then we'll I can pick we can
It's
pick it up.
construing the argument.
We can
Go
pick
ahead.
it. We can pick it
Thunder.
up. We can pick it up later.
let him have the
Uh,
floor, y'all.
Yeah, we're just going to keep rotating the conversation, and we don't get just
Yeah,
stuck
let
on
him have
one.
the
Go ahead.
floor. We're
Hold
doing
on.
good. We
Hold on.
got you. Go ahead. You good. You
All right,
good.
thank you. So, Juju, how you
Yes,
been?
I'm good.
Oh shit! Congratulations, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, so I just definitely want to just say how much it meant to the pseudo killers, man. It's been a while. You know, you've been down from, I don't know if it's been day one, but it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You've been down, and you've been
Yeah.
solid the whole time, and combative. I heard you got down on somebody the other day, so you did it with grace and poise. That's what Unc said. I can't think of who it was, but you was on somebody pound of getting down.
I was on Titans debate league killing.
There you go. Yeah, Titan Debate League. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
shout out, Titan Debate League. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out.
But
One in them.
yeah, 100. So maybe 2 minutes. I ain't gonna. I'm gonna get on and get back off because I know Sosa is triggered every time I come on for some reason. So when we get into Isaac Newton and if he was a scientist or not, I think any elementary school book will really answer that question. Maybe middle school, but definitely elementary school. So I'm not sure why you all are making the argument. Also, when we get into scientific revolution, we get into dates. I think I've heard on this channel where the scientific revolution lasted all the way into the 1900s. I'm not sure where in the world you all are getting this from, but if you just do a simple AI search, any AI will tell you that the scientific revolution was from roughly 1540 to roughly 1687 or 1690. Any one, it don't matter which one, you pick one. So I'm not sure why you all are doing this, and I think that's why. Well, I don't.
But we've been
I
saying that
remember.
though, Thunder.
Hold on.
Let him finish, bro. So
Let
we
me
can
finish.
move.
Let me finish out.
Yeah.
One more minute. It's 6:53. I'm gonna be finished at 6:54.
Take your time.
Okay, cool. He said, all right. So when we look at the scientific revolution, matter of fact, let's scientific revolution.
Oh my god.
Relax. Just hold up for 1 second. She said take my time, so that's what I'll do.
I don't know why she said that, but okay, fine.
Hey, listen,
You
don't.
arguing a point
One thing y'all
nobody's
not
making,
finna
Thunder.
do. One
You
thing y'all
arguing
not
a
finna
point
do is
nobody's making.
argue with Juju. Y'all not finna do that. No. So start date
That's a
was
fact.
15. The start date was 1543, and the end date was 1687. And if you know anything about Newton's time on this earth, it definitely correlates snugly right in that area. And they also say that he was a part of and also the Age of Enlightenment was right after that. So when we get into you all saying just making up the scientific revolution lasted all the way into the 1900s, there has to be some sort of agenda at play. And I tune into these shows in particular, just for one thing in particular, to understand what the agenda is, right? I really want to know the why, like scientists do today. They want to know the why. I want to know the why on why y'all keeps telling me that that Isaac Newton wasn't a scientist when we know he was a renowned physicist and astronomer, right? When we hear y'all say these things, I'm gonna keep tuning in every time I see y'all on and see why you're doing it. Also, why are you saying? Okay, I'm done right here. Why are you keep continually saying that the scientific revolution lasted into the 1900s when it only lasted from the 16th, and the 17th century? That's all. That's the only time it lasted. It was over with after that. Then that's when you had the birth of modern science, which correlates with Isaac Newton. And that'll be it. Thank you, Juju.
Yeah, like I said.
Yeah. So
I've never said that, so I don't.
Let me ask a
I
question.
know.
Real
See,
quick.
that's
No,
messed up. That
I'm
nigga
not
just threw all
arguing the
kind of
point.
stuff out
Hey,
there,
Well,
man.
you would have to address somebody that
hey,
said that. I never said that. So
can y'all hear me?
yeah.
Yep.
Thunder. When you say we, who are you referring to?
Who was the we? Which be more
You
specific.
said every time y'all want something we. So who's we? Who are you referring to as we?
Be more specific. I'm not. Say it again.
You made it in the comment. You say every time y'all do something, we go have something. So who's the we though?
Yeah, I wish. Can somebody help me out? I don't know.
Yeah, I can help.
I
I can help.
never
I can
made
help.
the claim. I never said that scientific revolution lasted that long. I never made
Okay,
Who
that
up
No.
claim.
here? All right.
I
Who
don't
up
know
here
so
if
you're
said
Juju
we
saying
ain't
made
the
the
same?
claim.
okay.
Can you
Now I get
can
it.
you,
So
can you
Juju, you're
pinpoint
saying
somebody that
why?
said it on the
Who was the
panel?
we I'm referring to? Right.
Yeah, who said it on the
The,
panel so you can address them directly?
the we I was referring to was more so the pseudo killers in general.
No.
I never
But
said that.
No. When you said we, you were including yourself that we don't like what the pseudo killers are saying by Newton not being a scientist. So who's the we? You and who else?
I don't remember. I don't recall saying we nothing on
You
that
said
note.
it. It's
Okay, that's
recorded.
fine. Either way, we can say
It's
well. We're
recorded.
saying well. It
So
don't, I'm not backing up. I would go. Let's go with your premise. I don't agree with your premise, but let's go with it.
So
So with the premise being we, I would say anybody the scientific community will agree that Isaac Newton was a scientist, and the scientific revolution lasted from 1547 to 1543 to 1687.
Right.
So
I
yes,
never.
if you want to know who
So
the
you
we is, I
saying
would say the scientific community is the we.
is there
let me
anybody
clear
on
it
the
up.
panel that said that it
No,
lasts? Like, is anybody here that you?
nobody on the panel said that. My overall discussion was talking about epistemic regime and methodological rule and why we wouldn't consider natural philosophers or people at a certain time scientists by those standards. Okay. So if you want to combat on what I said about that, please do so. But we weren't talking about the scientific revolution. And I would even say, even in the scientific revolution, they weren't scientists. They were still natural philosophers because they were at the bridge. They were building the bridge. And all the things that we have set up that defines our epistemic regime was not yet there at that time.
I would agree with that as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm sure you would, King J.
During that period,
I got a question for
I'm gonna
Thunder.
give you a chance.
hold on,
Let me-
can I
No, we're not going to make
Wait.
the Thunder show.
I'm
Who's
gonna give
next?
you a chance, King J. Give me a few
Okay.
minutes, okay? I got you. I'm gonna let you have the floor. All right. So just give me a minute. Sosa.
So,
I mean,
okay.
go ahead, Thunder.
No, go ahead, so go ahead. You got it.
No, I'm saying I'll give somebody else a chance to go. I mean, we'll be
Okay,
past
so
that.
I go.
I had a
Some of the
question for
questions,
Thunder.
some of it we already answered
Thunder.
like 5-6 times.
Right.
Mel answered it. I answered it. It's like
Right.
whatever we say, it's not satisfactory to you. So we can't just say. All we're gonna do is reframe it and say it the same way. You just disagree, and that's fine, bro. You disagree. I mean, it is what it is. Just disagree.
So yeah, I do believe so. I'm the one. I'm not speaking for anybody else on the panel. I took the hard stance that sorry, that's my dog. That Newton is not a scientist, and I gave you my reasons why. Okay, I'm only speaking for myself.
Yeah.
So let's say that, and I also wanted to share some things that are important to consider when you're placing that term science, which pseudo killers in that definition of science, we're talking about modern scientists. I place some things on the table to consider when you're considering putting that label on someone like Isaac Newton. That's what I was getting at. It was a think piece of mine. I wanted to share it. I think it's it's something that's very important to learn, right? I don't think people consider Yoshi, you gotta stop. You gotta go.
You don't think people consider?
I don't think people consider that the epistemic regime. Nobody considers that when we're having these discussions. But Hendricks, Dr. Hendricks said it, and other experts, whether they're dealing with the history of philosophy of science, the history of science, the experts on Newton uses this framework. That's why I brung it forth.
Did Dr. Hendricks admit that Isaac Newton was a scientist on your show yesterday?
Nah, he said I would like to think he is. That's not a hardcore statement either.
Oh boy!
But see, Dr. Hendricks is doing. He's trying to be careful not to degrade the individual that you're talking about. See, when you come up with a bad argument, you do damage to the person. No, let me.
Joel.
Darn you, Thunder. Darn you. Wait a minute. No.
Let him finish, Thunder. You got to let him finish. Nobody cut you off. We're not going to cut anybody else off. Continue, Joel.
I wanted to cut him off so bad. But anyway, when he made that point, and see, Thunder doing the same thing Ron did to us. If you force us to make a determination on Sir Isaac Newton, then somebody can hear it and say, oh, they talking bad about Sir Isaac Newton. We trying to avoid that, and you trying to push it. So here's my question for you, Thunder. Do you think Sir Isaac Newton was doing what we're doing today, or do you think what he did led to what we're doing today?
Sir Isaac Newton was a modern scientist by any stretch of the imagination. Any again, 5th grade book will tell you this.
I didn't ask you that.
I'm not sure. Are you asking me that Isaac Newton create a rocket and fly to the moon?
No, I didn't say that. I'm gonna repeat the question. I said, did Sir Isaac Newton practice what we're doing today with the scientific method, or did the things he did lead to what we do today?
I could have sworn I answered your question. If I'm classifying him as a modern scientist, then of course he did the same thing y'all are doing. We are doing today.
Okay, good. So we got him on tape. Okay, good. Go ahead. Y'all can go ahead with him.
Yeah, I answered your question. He's a modern scientist. And any Google search will tell you that. I don't know why you all are the only ones that are saying that he's not. He is a modern. He's the father of. They call him the father of modern science. So I'm not sure what you all are doing. That's why I keep tuning in. And y'all have me locked and loaded because I am waiting for the agenda to be really put out there on Front Street. Right. That's what I'm waiting.
There's no agenda. We don't have an agenda, but I'm gonna pass it now. So hold tight, Thunder. I'll get back with you. But we have King J on the panel, and we also have Grant. So I'm gonna let King J go, and then Grant has the floor. Without interruption, please. No. King J. Go.
King J, going once. Go to Grant. Oh, all right, good.
What up, though?
What's going on?
Can't call it. But yeah, I had definitely listened to the panel in agreement with just the Juju. I have a little thesis though, so I just want a quick thesis just to go over my core stance, so tell me what you think. So while indigenous knowledge systems demonstrate profound environmental mastery and practical utility, they remain distinct from science because they rely on tradition-based observation and holistic metaphysics rather than the rigorous self-correcting framework of methodological naturalism and universal empirical falsification. So what do you think of that thesis?
Oh, me? Us?
Anybody?
Yeah, anybody.
Particularly Sosa, Grant, or Joel, I think.
I mean, I agree with the framework how it's laid out. I'm going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think the conversation was the history of science. So if we talk about the history of science, it's important to be historically accurate. Like I don't think y'all realize y'all got into a conversation about the history of science.
Yeah, that's facts.
But yeah, that's it.
That's the broader picture. I overall agree with it, though I'm probably the less knowledgeable about the subject. There's just certain things that stand out. And I think if I was to put in this framework that the show is about, epistemic regime, it would agree with that. So, and that the formation of no methodological rule, the point that they were natural philosophers and there were other things into play during that time. So, yeah, I would agree. Is there anything you wanted to say about the show, or any comments about whether Newton was a scientist in the modern science sense or not, King J? If not, I'm going to move it to Grant. Grant, you have the floor.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about, to respond to the idea of the scientific revolution ending in the 1900s. I actually recall that show pretty vividly, and I just wanted to make sure that so everyone can be on the same page. Both they were defining both the range of what the scientific revolution was, which we all agree began in the 1600s, correct? Plus or minus, in the middle or whatever. But when they were talking about the scientific method being refined, they were talking about the 1900 where Popper comes along and introduced the idea of falsifying your hypothesis, correct? The falsification methodology. This is where the scientific method, the scientific method really just takes off and gets codified in its current state. And so ultimately, in that conversation, and I think this is something I also want to point out, which often happens, taking a very narrow, attempting to sort of squish in what people are saying when they're actually speaking about things in a very nuanced way, correct? Taking this nuance and trying to distill it down to something, into a conspiracy. If anyone wants to understand how we came to this particular point in time, you need this moment of the scientific revolution, but you still also need to sort of codify how you're going to do it, correct? What are the rules of the process that need to be in place? Hence the word regime. Now, I know that there are some people who believe that regime is only in reference to authoritarians. But one of the things we should understand is that within science, regime can mean something different than you do outside of science. Similar way that theory is different than when you as a layperson have a theory about McDonald's foods. You think you understand the world, that is your theory. But ultimately there is a scientific theory about how the food works. So words do matter in a sense in making sure you understand them. And this speaks more broadly to how people individuals within this, sort of this world that we're in often tries to misuse words in a way to sort of undermine what are truly scientific ways of thinking versus a very layperson way of thinking. And so I wanted to make sure I give you guys clarification about how that particular show went down. They're broadly talking about the series of events that happened and how we landed on a scientific method. And so our current understanding of the world as it relates to the scientific method most certainly did end in the 1900s, in particular where Popper comes out with falsification. So I just wanted to make sure I provide that clarity.
Thank you, Grant. Always excellent and clear. Oh. Sosa, I gotta step away. You got it real quick.
Yeah. I got it. Joe, you got some commentary? I know you got some stuff you want to get off your chest. I'll give you opportunity.
Well, I mean, only thing I want to say is that I really want to go. I hope everybody watched the Scott Hendricks interview yesterday. I think he touched on a lot of what we're talking about now. And he even pointed out that around the time he didn't come right out and say Newton, but when I asked him the question, when did what we are calling science today, when did that start getting developed? And he pointed to 1600, that time frame. So I mean, he probably had Newton in his mind because Newton was a bad dude. He was doing his thing, and so I think it's horrible when somebody comes on and try to say we trying to downgrade them when really we aren't. We just explaining that is different than what we were doing today. Thunder kind of feels like he was doing, what we're doing, but you know, who peer reviewed them, and where's the blind studies on the stuff that he came up with? That's later, and they improved on what he came up with when they started doing that. So I mean, man, we dragged this conversation out just for the fun of it. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, shit, we explain more about Isaac Newton than any platform did. Shoot. You know what I'm saying? So, it is what it is.
Exactly, but somehow we downgrading them. No way, stop it.
Like I don't get it. Like I said, if you want to call him a scientist, call him a scientist. Like who? Like, bro, that should not be. Like, I did a whole thing on the history of science, and the conversation that's boiled down to, do we want to call Newton a scientist? That's crazy to me. We're talking about the history of science starting from early knowledge system. We started at 350,000 years ago and came to 2026, and we stuck at 1650 something to 1727. Like, it's crazy. Go ahead. Sabio, are you good?
Yeah, and I've heard him, and it's like if you was to ask him some simple questions like, what method did Newton use to test any of his theories to see if they were falsifiable or not? And he would say, I don't know, or there weren't none. And at that point, then we would have to admit and say that he had some steps that led to the scientific revolution. And he was profound, but he was a natural philosopher, as a lot of those people in his times were. Like, what separates him is more of his ideas led to some things that we still use today. That separates him from the Teslas and some other people in his era. But all of these people were natural philosophers doing the best to explain the world with the tools available to them. And when they ran out, it was, we don't know, or a deity, a creator. A lot of them were deists. Why isn't that ever mentioned by these people that want to call these guys scientists? A lot of them were deists. Why is that part overlooked? I've been wondering that for a long time.
My bad, Ron. I couldn't even see your name. Go ahead, Ron. I couldn't even see you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The reason we don't call them deists is because it's not germane to the topic, right? Who cares if they believe in God? That's a personal thing.
It's not science.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Talking about science. You can believe in God and still believe in science. Would you agree with that, Xavier?
So again,
you're talking to Xavier.
So again, it's not about their personal belief. It's about, what did I say? It's about when they ran out of answers to the questions or the things that they were testing or hypothesizing or questioning. It was gave up to some creator because science ran out. They had no other way to continue the testing. They did not have the technology to go further. So they gave it up to the whims. Why isn't that understood?
Newton didn't do that, though, Sadio. You're saying that Newton did that. All Newton said was, as an example, force is equal to mass times acceleration, right? He said that. He was able to test that, right?
And no one.
He was able to test that. He was able to falsify it whether it was
That
correct or
wasn't the
incorrect.
only thing that he
He
did.
didn't say. He
No,
just all he said was that God set the system up.
no.
And here's one of the laws that God put in place. F equals ma. And he used methodological naturalism, a system of methodological naturalism to prove that. Would you agree with that?
So
no, because at the end of it, and when you read his work, that's not what it was. It was the causal was God. So let me see. We can agree on this, and then we can kind of be look. Let me read what most scholars agree on. Newton is a central figure in the history of science. His work in mechanics, optics, and mathematics defined what would later become modern physics. So, in every day, in educational context, calling him a scientist is standard and widely accepted, right? So, I think we can agree with that. Where the nuance comes in, the term scientist did not exist in Newton's lifetime. We agree. His actual role would have been described as a natural philosopher. We should agree. His work included theology and alchemy alongside what we now call science. Because of this, historians of science often prefer more precise language in academic context. If we can agree with that, then I don't understand why we keep. I think that covers all the bases.
That kind of sums it up. I don't think they realized that during that point of time, science was still a branch of philosophy.
In theology.
Yeah. So they're during this time period, they're still in the
Understand that.
they're still in hold on, they're still in the Y stage, right? And then we broke it down, right? We go from indigenous knowledge to natural philosophy to the Y stage. After that, we kind of get into where we get into the Islamic golden age, right? Where we talk about systematic categorization, right? We go from that to the scientific revolution, where we're shifting to the actual how, right? Uh, and then we go from that to where we are now, which is a universal science, which is based off standardization and institutionalization. So when these things like biology, physics, and chemistry get broken down into one field by Mary Somerville, I'm going to keep bringing her up because she's the first quote unquote modern day scientist, if we're going to go by the actual term. Anything before her, I would argue they were natural philosophers.
All right,
Yeah.
Newton studied
Mel.
the how. Newton studied the how, right? He studied the how. Why
Yeah,
he
the
created
problem is not the
the
how.
how.
The issue is just why. The issue is the causal and the why. That's
Yeah,
the issue.
but the why was what we're talking about today is that Newton, at least this is what I think we're talking about, that Newton followed the methodological, naturalistic rules, the
No, he
epistemic rules,
follows some parts of the
to be classified as
scientific
modern
method.
science. And I'm talking specifically around mechanics or physics. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm keeping it to.
Yeah, he followed
The answer is yes.
at that time some parts of what we now call the scientific method. That's what he followed. But he followed natural. He was a natural philosopher. That's what he followed, not methodological narrative. But we can see the scientific method in his work. That's what you're referring to. Yes, some aspects of it.
So
Because some aspects didn't exist during his
if we
time.
can see it, why can't we say it?
We can say it. That's what I said. If you can call him a scientist, bro, I can say it.
But I keep hearing,
You just
pushback here
refuse
though.
to allow us to not do it.
No, but I keep hearing people saying, no, we shouldn't even call him a scientist. Is that right, King James? Is that what you're saying, King James?
It's not historically
I
precise.
say if the term doesn't, so why do you want to keep retrofitting terms? That's why I want to ask the question. Like
Keep doing what,
it
King James?
doesn't make sense if the term doesn't exist and they're not doing it. The thing that the scientists is asking, why do you want to keep retrofitting the term?
Hey, let me.
If in their variable they have deities, if in their variables they have deities, right? Rituals. That's not science.
There's no
You can't
variable.
say, well, they're not doing modern science, but they're doing science. Well, by the
There's no.
definition, modern science has
Where's the
no,
deity?
huh?
Where's the deity in F equals ma? Where's the deity?
I didn't hear you say what's the deity, what's the what?
It's not in
Where's the
that.
deity in
It
F
is
equals ma?
It's in his outside equation, Ron. I keep explaining. He has other works explaining it in his outside equations, bro. Like, that's why I kept reading the quotes of what he said. Those was explanation, the causal explanations for why these things are occurring. We don't see the Big Bang. The Big Bang is a result of God exerting His force, and if God disappears, the Big Bang would swallow up. That's not a part of our.
They're not controlling controlled experiments at that time at all. They're just really using their own reason and mythology to explain the why.
There are modern scientists that
And
believe that God was the cause of the Big Bang, right?
But that's not in. But that's not a part of the outside equation. They're not going to write about that and put that as a piece into the Big Bang theory. You can't do that
because you can't write it into the equation. It's impossible. You can't write it into the equation.
So scientists can have personal belief and not subject it into their work.
So Ronald, this is Grant. What if we just right now just say we agree with you, you're right, and there you go, and we just stop. Like we're like Ron's right, and Newton's a scientist. We all log off. What does that do? What does that do for you?
No, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to. Why I'm engaging like this. I'm not trying to.
I know why you're engaging this way, but I just want to understand what it feels. What does it make you feel like?
What it's gonna make me feel like?
Yeah, we say we agree. We agree with you. Now
no,
what?
I mean, I could ask you the same question. How would it make you feel like if I just said, "Well, he wasn't a scientist"?
That you're smart.
It'd be the same thing, right?
I would say you have.
I would say congratulations. Now, what is it for you?
Wait.
I'm asking you. We agree with you right now that you're correct. All right. Now, where do we go from here?
No, I mean that would. Wouldn't
that
make
logically?
Wouldn't it logically say we'd be on the same page?
Yeah, it makes sense. We agree with your definition that's the definition that you want to go with, and we'll go with that's your definition. It works. Now what?
But I'm not trying to get you to agree with me. I'm trying to have a dialogue.
No, you're not, because we've already said that we've already laid out the definitions of what we think. Okay, and we said that's this, correct? That he's a father of it because he's the beginning of it, and you can call him a scientist, and that is within the range of what you can do, and no one's denying that. And then you're coming back and saying, well, this equation didn't include God. Okay, no one made that argument. So we're saying,
King J did make that argument.
Okay.
Can I say something, y'all?
Go for it.
I think Thunder's next.
I was trying to.
No, go ahead, Joel. Go ahead, Joel. You good? Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
This is your show.
I think one positive to take from this show is that Thunder and Ron are at least closer to what we're saying than the other detractors. The other detractors have science all the way back, and not the pliers some goddamn going way. No, the chimps. I don't know. It's whoever came up with fire first. They got, Thunder said Sir Isaac Newton. I heard Thunder say Sir Isaac.
Tell Joe, Thunder.
No, Thunder, tell me. No, so you are messing up Thunder. Thunder is right here. Thunder
don't let Joe misrepresent you like that.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Thunder.
Sosa, right, stop trying to start a fight, Sosa. That is not cool.
He's right there. He can tell you himself.
He heard me talking. That's why he didn't cut me off. He agrees. That's
no. Juju is running the show, and I'm not going to speak until she tells me to speak.
Okay, well, go ahead. Well, that's my question. That's my question for.
When does science begin, Thunder? Thunder, tell Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm waiting on Juju.
Go ahead, Thunder.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Say it again.
That's so phony, yo.
When did science begin?
When the science began.
Come on, man. When the science began? We both speak English. Come on now.
When did science begin? Science?
Yes. Who's the first people? Who started doing science? When did science start?
When the first person was born. Or when the first person appeared.
You shouldn't answer.
Was the ancient Egyptians doing science? Was the ancient Egyptians doing science, Thunder?
Yes, they had ancient science.
Yeah, see? Don't misrepresent Thunder. Yeah,
they had ancient science. They didn't have modern science.
Ancient science, see?
Well, if you look up at okay, good. So are we sharing sources on here, Juju, or how are we gonna do this?
Is ancient science proto-science?
It's most of it is.
Is proto-science science or non-science?
Most of proto-science is non-science.
So the Egyptians practiced proto-science, which is non-science, and they had science?
Or cultural knowledge, right?
No, okay, good. So the science I'm speaking about is science, not modern science.
You're talking about just knowledge? Just knowledge, right?
If you ask me if proto-science is modern science, it is not modern science. No.
No, I asked you if proto-science was non-science. You said it's non-science.
Proto-science is not. Proto-science is a science. It's not modern science.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to take me a mushroom so I can follow this conversation.
Okay, you want to read what a proto-science is? I remember when the pseudo killer used to read all the time.
I know what proto-science. Go ahead, read it.
I remember when it was like
I need to be high to keep up.
I remember when the pseudo killer was source up or shut up, right? I remember that. Okay, good. So proto-science is a field of study in its early undeveloped stage that utilizes scientific methods, observation, hypothesis formulation, but lacks empirical evidence or falsifiability.
That kills you right there. You can't even, your own source just kills you. You comprehend what you're reading, brother?
Okay, good. So King J, let me say it again. I think that was King J. I said that proto-science is not modern science.
Right.
But proto-science is science.
Oh, I thought.
What if I said that the definition of science is modern science?
Yeah, nobody would agree with you.
Nobody would agree with that. I think everybody on the panel agrees with that.
Oh well, yeah, it's a pseudo kill. Yeah, y'all say that. Yeah, 100%.
I'm saying that proto-science is the precursor. So how could the precursor be science?
Exactly.
When did proto-science?
Okay, good. So let me ask you a question.
But when did proto-science end, Thunder?
When does what?
When did proto-science end?
What you mean with the proto-science? Do you know what proto-science is?
Yeah, he does. He asks you when did it end?
The foundation.
Is going on
the
right
foundation.
now today.
Proto-science is the foundation of science.
Proto-science is going on right now.
We talk about from the ancient time, not in its modern form. We're talking about from ancient proto-science.
Hold on, let me share my screen because I remember
you're saying proto-science is happening
now.
Hold
on, man. Just let me share my screen.
Yeah, he's using a more modern stages right now. Like he's using like some of the new science that created in the stage of proto. That's what he's saying.
I'm going to
He didn't
interject.
articulate that very well.
I'm going to interject real quick. Yes. So first of all, I want to say I appreciate all 4950 people in the chat, all those in the bushes who are watching and supporting. I just want to let y'all know to go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe. If you're not already in the Discord, I think you should get in the Discord. For people who say that we don't read anymore, we read extensively. I think more now. I just dropped 5 papers on Newton early this morning, up all night, because I thought some of the videos in the community were so prolific. So I really had to get down deep into it, and I did. So we definitely be reading it. And our reading is not surface level, right? Hence why I brought up, and I will go back to the premise of the show, epistemic regime. That is important. That's important terminology. It's important to understand when the methodological rule was formalized. It's important to understand those things when you start to place the label modern science on individuals or cultures, right? So those things are fundamental. This is the work that is done in the highest places of universities and experts on the subject. I mean, the subject of the philosophy of science, the history of science, experts on Newton. They're dealing with this model because they have to put him in the proper historical framework in order to label him accurately, you know? So that's where we are. So until
good. So epistemic regime.
I'm not finished. Until you understand those ideals, you will fail horribly in understanding the conversation overall. It's not about opinion. It's not about opinion. It's not about bias. You know, it's not about this retrospective application of the word. we're dealing with what is and what isn't. We understand Newton is a bridge builder. If you want to call him a scientist, by all means, call him a scientist. Juju, good juju, bad juju, made a hard stance today, and I gave you the reason why I made that hard stance, and I'm standing on my square. That was the point. This was a hit the button show. You feel me? I was out for blood. I got what I wanted. So you have to deal with that. But go ahead.
Okay, good. I shared my screen.
I'm sorry, Thunder. Wait a minute. It is 2:05. I'm going to give it to 2:30. We're going to go ahead and end the show. We got some other things that are coming up. I don't want to drag it out too long because I want people to be able to come back and watch the show and it not be so drawn out. I appreciate everybody that's on the panel supporting, but we're going to start winding it down. But go ahead, Thunder.
I'm sharing the screen if you want to share it on the show. My brother Grant asked me, for whatever strange reason, when did proto-science end? I think everybody heard him say that. Proto-science has never ended.
Ancient.
Proto-science. Everybody heard it. So proto-science is going on right now. Stop Sosa. Proto-science is a current event, and it is always going to be. It would never not be proto-science. Abiogenesis is a companion to. Well, I'm not gonna because she's gonna end it in 20 minutes. So I just read them off, and you all can go down. Abiogenesis is a proto-science. Binaural beats is a proto-science. You can read what these are again for time's sakes because she put a time limit. I'm gonna just go through it. Cryonics is a proto-science. Grand unification theory.
Why are they
proto-science?
Why are they proto?
M theory is because if you don't know what a proto, I already read what a proto-science.
I know what it is. I want you to explain to me why it's proto.
M theory is a proto-science. Listen, I don't have number 20.
No, don't go over all of it. We don't got time for you to read every one.
Neurocardiology. I'm right here. I got about 5 more. Neurocardiology.
We get it, bro.
Neurocardiology is a proto-science.
Yeah, like I said, we get the point, bro.
But we're using proto-science within the context of the conversation.
Ancient society and history of science conversation. When does in the history of science this shift go from proto-science to something else? When does that break?
Yeah,
that's what he's asking.
Yeah,
are you serious?
When does the shift come?
What shift?
Because
from ancient proto. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, come on, Thunder. The shift from asking why to how. That shift.
You ain't never see the timeline. Like, this is crazy.
Oh, what you want to do, the 1700 CE thing again, Sosa? That's what you want to do?
Proto goes back further than that, bro. We're talking about in the history of science chronology, bro.
So you're saying since the first human, Thunder, that they engaged in proto-science, correct? That's what you're saying?
Who was that?
Thunder, did you say that the first human practiced science, correct?
Yes, the first human. Every human is practicing science.
And in that particular case, you're saying that they engage in proto-science or no?
Yes, proto-science. Yes.
And then when was there a switch from the exclusive practice or what we perceive as a practice of proto-science in human history?
Proto-science. Oh man.
I know proto-science
proto-science is the lack of empirical. Come on, y'all. Proto-science is when any science that lacks sufficient data, reclamation. We
don't need to.
When did the
shift? You can't even articulate your argument. I think you can articulate it better than you.
Proto-science is a field of study.
What he's saying is that
in its early, undeveloped stage that utilizes scientific methods, observation, hypothesis formulation, but it lacks empirical. It lacks empirical evidence or falsifiability.
We're saying
that's what proto-science is.
Yeah, there's a proto-science stage for astronomy, correct?
Say it again.
There's a proto-science stage for what we call astronomy, right?
Yes, and The stage
and there's a
of
shift.
astronomy that lacks empirical evidence or falsifiability, that's proto-science.
Right. And there's a time
everything
when
after that is modern astronomy.
Right. So when did that break happen? That's what he's asking. So from astronomy to the natural science, when did the break happen and going forward, bro? Like, you know what he's saying.
Whenever
if you don't know,
the
just say, I don't know,
whenever astronomy incorporated empirical evidence or falsifiability, that's when it switched from being a proto-science
what time period
to
is that?
Say what?
Just say you don't know, bro.
Where you read that at?
Where I read what at?
When did this happen? When did it happen?
When did I don't know that you want me to give you the date that it happened? That
well, you're making the claim, and I think this is where you continuously fumble, correct?
Yeah.
You get on
Where's
here.
My fumble?
You fumble because you filibuster nonsense. We all know how to read, correct?
Yeah.
I don't need you to read to me. This is not a night story.
Oh, you don't want to read on this? Okay.
No, I don't need you to read because you're not very good at it. Okay. What I need you to do is, if you're making a claim, you need to provide the evidence.
What's the claim I'm making?
You have sources. You want to share your screen.
What's the claim I'm making again?
Share the information that you supposedly have in your nugget.
What's the claim I'm making, Grant?
You are talking about what makes something science proto versus modern. And I'm asking you, when does that break? And you either just give us a date or you just log off because you don't know.
Are you saying that I made that was a claim?
I'm not saying you made it up. I'm asking you a question. You have to answer it. You are making a claim that there's a break, and I'm asking you, when was that break?
What break are you talking? I didn't say it was a break. Y'all keep saying it's a break. I said proto-science is going on right now. You're doing that. Juju, did you hear me say that proto-science is current right now and is ever forming?
I thought that's what you was proving when you pulled that wiki article out.
So why the hell are they trying to put that as what matter of fact, what fallacy are they doing right now? What fallacy are they doing right now?
Are you saying that there's modern thunder? Do you saying that is there modern science?
Juju, which one of the fallacies they doing right now? Tell me which one. You know which one?
She's not your mom, Thunder. She can't save you right now. Let me help you. Is there modern science or
now?
Not?
He bringing my mother into my
I'm bringing dead for 20-some years. You perform like a child.
Now he's bringing my mother into it. Now we're getting into the dirt.
Go ahead, Grant. Let's not talk over each other. I want Grant to finish his point. You have the floor, Grant.
So the point I'm asking is, you're saying that there's proto-science and modern science. Do we agree on that position?
There's proto-science and there's modern science.
And then the question is, when do you perceive that modern science initiated?
Modern science initiated in 1543 and concluded in 16.
No, that's a scientific revolution, not modern science. But I'm helping you. But go ahead.
Okay, good. Say, okay, when did modern science started in 1687 and is current? I'm sorry, I apologize. Thank you. Modern science began in 1687 and it is current today. Yes.
All right, there we go.
Thank you.
So you believe that humans have been practicing science in the form of proto-science, and then that the break is at the scientific revolution. Congratulations.
That what you heard me say?
Oh Lordy. I don't know what's next, Juju. Hey, but Juju, I think you got it from here.
Hey, so you heard, that's what you heard me say?
I don't know.
Let me make my exit gracefully.
Wait a minute.
Let me make my exit, Juju, real quick.
I was gonna say your final words. I'm gonna read the definition to epistemic regime again, but before I do that, everybody give their final words. I'm gonna read the definition again so you can hone it on what we were discussing today. And you don't
jump out real quick. I want to jump out real quick right now. Shout out to you. Good job hitting the button. Good show. It's been entertaining, everybody. Thanks for coming up. Grant, Mel, KJ, Savio, Joe, Ron. Appreciate it. Hey, pull up sometime, Ron. We can work this out. Thunder shot to you, bro. We can move.
We'll do. Good show, guys. Guys, take care.
We'll be done.
Go ahead, give your final words, Thunder.
Okay, my final word is I'm not sure who Grant is, but I guess that's who I was talking to. All right, Grant. Yeah, I don't think there was ever a break between proto. That don't even make sense to me. Proto-science is just a development when a science becomes more developed. That's when it switches from being a proto-science to a modern science. That's it. It's not a time period in which you all keep doing. I don't know why you keep doing that. But no encyclopedia or dictionary will back up what you're saying. But Juju, congratulations on your engagement. Great to see you again. Great to talk to you. Oh, I'm sorry. On your marriage, I apologize. Congratulations on your marriage, and yeah, good to talk to you again.
Absolutely, thank you, Joe. Well, Savio, excuse me.
Excellent. Oh, go ahead, Savio.
Yeah, good show, Juju. Appreciate it. What I don't appreciate, and I'm gonna say it briefly and quickly, is the usage of a word and terms that don't apply to people. If science is being used as a placeholder for knowledge, then Thunder, you are right. All those people had knowledge. We can leave it there. To say that they had modern science and methods to test their beliefs and their ideas is fallacious. So if you want to keep arguing, you're arguing with yourself at this point, because you want people to be something that they're not when they weren't. Peace.
Thank you. Grant, final words.
You know, I think there's a clear attempt to deceive people around dates. I mean, someone can clearly state that the modern science began in the 1600s, and then immediately say there is no break, there is no difference. You have to discard these individuals as either willingly trying to be trolls, or there may be something else that is happening within them. And I wish anyone whose mind is that fractured serious help, because this is not how any serious human being is thinking about science. You cannot find any evidence that anyone thinks that there isn't a break from proto into the modern world. Not to say that proto doesn't still exist, but there is this clear break in which these two things happen at the same time. And so I think it's important to keep these things in mind. And the willingness to just read us into oblivion isn't a way that you engage in a discussion. What you should do is present your case and then have the evidence behind it. And I think that's what we should also be doing going forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. Agreed. The archivist, the great archivist. Final words. Mel, you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. Yeah, I came up here to address something earlier, but I'll be quick about it.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned that, what's the point if Newton believed in God or had a religious backing? It's a little bit deeper than that. He did not separate nature from his understanding of God, as most natural philosophers do. And if you want an extensive breakdown on that, Stanford has an encyclopedia of philosophy, and they go into natural philosophers and how they don't separate nature from God. The other thing is Newton wrote extensively on theology, church history, and biblical chronology, as well as prophecy. He was trying to purify religion at that time and interpret prophecy. If you want more information on that, you can go to the Newton Project. They have plenty of writings where he reveals how serious he took that work. So that was on par with the rest of his work regarding understanding alchemy, matter, and mathematics and the law of nature. So I just wanted to address that. But good show.
Thank you. Joe, final word.
Yeah, good show, Juju. This was really good. This conversation slowed down. I like how you kept everything orderly. That's good, because I was tempted to wild out. But so that was really good. Shout out to Sosa, who jumped on it early with you, and to everybody who joined the panel. Good thing came out of this. I got a clearer understanding of where Thunder at. Ron, I think Ron might be at least closer to us. I think he might be closer to Isaac Newton, and really what you got a chance to do in real time as an experimentation. You're doing science here, according to him. But look, as an experimentation, We got to see what was shared with us yesterday by the expert in real time.
Yeah.
You know, a word, this word means something. People should really go look up what it takes for something to be the scientific method today.
Yeah.
And when you don't see that practiced by those groups in the past, if you force it on them, when somebody else hears it, you're gonna start having that group, their marvelous works, be put under great scrutiny, and it's just a bad thing to do. You know, I don't know why it's hard for people just to say they had knowledge of the world around them. I mean, because that's what when they use the word in its primitive definition is knowledge. So there you go. So anyway, good show. I'll holler at you.
Peace. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I just want to say that I'm definitely not the smartest, most well-versed person on this subject, but I'm definitely reading. Overall, Newton is a very complicated figure, right? If you try to understand him on the surface level, you will fail at trying to place him in a category. So this word, epistemic regime, is extremely important. I told you where to find it. You can find this at lifestyles.sustainability directory.com. Okay. And just put, all you got to do is put epistemic regime. There's a couple of articles. You can scroll all the way down and you'll see this one. I think this one was the most clear, and it had some other things that were very interesting to read, some historical context on why we use this to understand the world around us in this particular time, right? How they understood the world around them during Newton's time was extremely different. How hunter-gatherers understand the world around them was different. So epistemic regime, epistemic regime refers to prevailing systems of knowledge, production, validation, dissemination within a particular society or domain. It encompasses the accepted methods for determining what counts as truth, the institutions that authorize knowledge, and the dominant conceptual framework through which reality is understood. Such a regime shapes how problems are defined, what evidence is considered legitimate, and which solutions are deemed plausible. It significantly influences public discourse, policymaking, and collective action by establishing the parameters of what can be known and discuss. This framework provides insight into how societies construct their understanding of the world, particularly the world around them. That's epistemic regime. And I hope y'all read more on that. That was the show. I appreciate everybody who supported, who listened in. It was pretty fun. And this was, the Hit Squad, Hit the Button show. So with that, I think we out. I ain't done this in so long, y'all. I don't even know where our song's at or none of that. It's so funny. But that's the show. I'm out.
Black African power. What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie. A well-organized lie. Defeats a disorganized truth. Every time, for who we?
A pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. Who do you believe in? People bringing misinformation when that information ain't disinformation, that's disinformation. Gotta know the difference in information, get information. With the pseudo killer army hunting pseudo, cause you gotta train your mind to fight against them pseudo judo. People with the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But the people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those like telescope. If you ain't speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth. of it. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro, what the proof of? Good juju chillin', why you wanna go way bad juju Chalon boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa world plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come in Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks. Cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sun sling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sun sling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sun sling, ayy. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sun sling, ayy.